Israel's leaders sit across the negotiation table, reviewing the terms of a major diplomatic agreement. In their rush to secure the borders, they make a critical unforced error. They sign the treaty without consulting God first. By skipping that step, they create a massive information gap. They assume their own observations are sufficient to judge the situation. The men sitting across from them are the Gibeonites. Gibeon is a local power, and they have one highly specific goal: to secure absolute safety from Israel's expanding military. To bypass Israel's scrutiny, the Gibeonites wear worn-out clothes, patch up old wineskins, and carry dry, moldy bread. They claim to be travelers from a distant land, far outside Israel's immediate area of operation. The visual evidence is convincing enough. Joshua and the leaders agree to terms, executing a permanent, legally binding peace covenant. Days later, the truth surfaces. The Gibeonites are actually their direct neighbors. Israel is now legally and morally bound to protect a nation of liars. The local power structure shifts the moment Gibeon aligns with Israel. Fearing this alliance, 5 surrounding kings mobilize. They bypass Israel's camp and launch a retaliatory siege, locking Gibeon inside a tight, restrictive ring of enemy forces. The trap is fully sprung. The Gibeonites invoke the new treaty and call for help. A rashed diplomatic signature has now dragged Israel into a massive military conflict to save the very people who deceived them. Joshua mobilizes his forces instantly. They move out under the cover of darkness, pushing through steep mountain passes to reach Gibeon. This mobilization is a direct legal consequence of their 3-day-old covenant. They are bound to defend the Gibeonites at any cost. This diagram traces their route. It's a brutal, rapid nighttime ascent from Gilgal to Gibeon, forcing the entire army to climb thousands of feet in elevation to intercept the coalition. With every mile, the tactical tension builds. They are exhausted, marching entirely uphill, and closing the distance to an enemy coalition that heavily outnumbers them. Morning breaks. The Israelite soldiers finally crest the ridgeline, looking down at an immense, heavily armed encampment laying siege to the city. Israel has marched blindly into a massive theater of war, arriving at the battlefield physically drained and facing a superior force. Right here, before the first sword is drawn, the narrative pauses. God speaks directly to Joshua. The message begins with a direct command regarding the overwhelming odds below them. Do not be afraid of them. I have given them into your hand. Then comes the definitive guarantee. Not one of them will be able to withstand you. This promise reorients the army's posture. It turns a reluctant defensive obligation into a high-speed offensive strike with an absolute guarantee of victory. Israel attacks. The initial clash is explosive, catching the coalition entirely off guard with a sudden, highly aggressive strike. Looking at the tactical map, you can see the results. The coalition lines fracture immediately, breaking and splintering under the pressure of the assault. Sheer panic sets in. The splintered lines devolve into a full-scale rout, scattering across the landscape to escape. Israel's forces don't stop to regroup. They launch a relentless pursuit, chasing down the retreating armies across the difficult terrain to ensure no pockets of resistance survive. The coalition is systematically dismantled. By the end of the day, the combined strength of the 5 kings is completely wiped out. The staggering scale of the rout mirrors the precise terms of the prophecy given at the cliffside. The victory was a literal, historical execution of the divine promise. When the dust settles, the final tally is definitive. Israel's regional enemies have been neutralized in a single, sweeping action. This outcome resolves the crisis that started days earlier, when Israel failed to consult God and signed a deceptive treaty. The Gibeonite deception acted as bait. Instead of fighting isolated strongholds, the treaty drew scattered enemies into one vulnerable location. A dangerous deception triggered a chain reaction. By moving forward with decisive action and God's promise, Israel turned a massive liability into a total victory.